another episode of the Empowerment Minutes podcast, your podcast for learning, leadership, coaching, and personal growth. I am your host, Dr. Maurine Kwende. I'm a learning leader, educator, executive leadership coach, facilitator, author, podcast host. I'm passionate about empowering leaders become leaders people want to be known for, and I do that through my company called EMK Learning Solutions, and I will be glad to assist you in that area, and also in instructional design. So every month on the podcast, we pick a theme, and so if you're here for the first time, I'd like to give you a special welcome. Welcome to the podcast. So the theme for this month is called Strength-Based Leadership. So this week, the title is Lead with What You've Got, Uncovering Your Leadership Strengths and Values. So today, I want to begin with a quote that sets the tone for today's conversation. You don't need to be everything. You just need to be you, fully and with intention. So many leaders spend time trying to fix what they're not good at, forgetting that they do have strengths. But what if the key to powerful leadership isn't about fixing your weaknesses, but in knowing that your strengths are valuable as well as your values? So knowing how to using your strengths and honing your values. What if you could use that instead? That's what we're going to be exploring today. So this month we picked strength-based leadership because for the leaders that I empower, I keep going through different scenarios, different situations where leaders believe that they just don't have anything that they bring to the table. And so that definitely affects their confidence, how they show up. And so this theme of the month is very specific to that audience that I've been working with. Just so that as they listen and as you listen, hopefully you can realize that you do bring something to the table. So why strength-based leadership matter? Let's start with the truth, right? No one is great at everything, right? There's no one leader in the world who knows everything. That's wrong. That's a big myth, right? Any leader who's a great leader, they build, they build well-rounded teams, right? There's no one leader that is rounded in every area in their life. So what makes a great leader stand out in this area is the ability to lead from a position of strength. And then they can build that well-rounded team by, leveraging others who are, part of the team who also are operating in their strengths, right? Because so we all have different unique strengths, and how can we work together to achieve the common goal within the organization? So strength-based leadership is about knowing what you do best and doing more of it, not just for yourself, but for the good for your team, your organization, and your mission. Why are you here? Knowing your why. When you know your why, and then how can you leverage your strength to pursue your why, to become your why? So when you lead from strength, you show up with more confidence and clarity. You make better and faster decisions. You're more effective, efficient. You're right. You build trust through authenticity because you're showing up just with what you have. You empower others to do the same. So we're going to be talking about how you can discover your strengths and your values, right? Because they go hand in hand. And I will also want to refer you to chapter 10 of my book titled Dream Big and Live Your Dreams Boldly. About 6 weeks ago, I released the second edition of my book. And I know many of you purchased this book. So if you have that book and you're listening to this, I want you to turn over to chapter 10. And then when you go to chapter 10, you're going to look at the Dream Big a framework. And then, this is part of the framework. So go to chapter 10 and then you flick a couple of pages and you're going to get to, discovering your strengths and your values. So If you have the book nearby, you can open it right now, or if you don't, then, well, you can also grab a copy of the book if you want. It's still on sale on Amazon. So I shared that your strengths and values, they are your core foundations, because they actually reflect who you are, right? And so, because you know what drives you, you know what you're naturally gifted at, your leadership becomes aligned and purposeful. You're not trying to become something else. And so, even when you identify those strengths, what you need to do then is to fortify them, right? And so, how do you identify your strengths? You want to be able to ask questions to yourself like, what energizes me, beg your pardon, how, or when do I feel most in flow? What do people come to me for? What tasks come naturally to me? What do people consistently, not just one and off, but consistently come to me for? Now, to know, you definitely, I want to encourage you to take like an assessment, like the DISC assessment, like the Clifton Finder Strength Assessment. And yes, if you're interested in taking the DISC, you're more than welcome to go to my website, emklearningsolutions.com/leadership assessment, and you can learn more how to take that DISC assessment. So that's the one way that you can uncover your strengths. Now, how do you uncover your values? I shared earlier on to go to page chapter 10 of my book. And your values reflect what you value, right? And so these are kind of like guiding principles that shape your decisions, your style, your legacy, that reflects who you are. If something for me doesn't stand with my values, it's unsettling. I would not do it. So for me, I'm going to talk a little bit more about my own values, but so take time and then ask yourself, what are your values, right? And what are your strengths, right? And so ask yourself questions about your values. Say, what do you value, right? What values are non-negotiable for you? What principles guide your decisions? What have you felt most fulfilled or unfulfilled or frustrated, right? And so this would tell you, give you, hints about your values. So some of your core values may be integrity, growth, empathy, excellence, courage, service, justice. Integrity is one of my core values. Anything, that is, if I don't see that it's not a lie, it's dishonest, it doesn't show, integrity, I'm not going to do it, because it's just not going to be me, right? I wouldn't show up the way I want to show up. So in my book, Dream Big and Live Your Dreams Boldly, I ask you to write down I provide a list of about 50 values adapted from Brené Brown's list of values. And I ask you to identify top 10 values and then, whittle it down to your 5 and then, come up with your core values, your top 5 values, and how they show up in your daily life. How do your values show up in your work, right? If your values are, maybe growth, empathy, excellence, and you're working in an environment that is not aligned with those values, you're going to feel like you're living separate lives. And I say this all the time, you're one person, right? Even you're at work, you're at home, wherever you are, the more you can connect the dots, the more you can live a more fulfilled life because you're authentic. You're showing up, consistently where you want to show up as that same person, right? You don't want to be in another space acting like a fraud where you're not yourself. So write your top 5 values and then be able to connect the dots, are those values aligned with the things that are important to you? Maybe your work, your finances, your health, your community, whatever. Is there alignment across the board, right? And so, I want to encourage you then, to start off with, go look for a list online for your values and see how you can work on those values. Or you can, if you have my book, you can just check in there and be able to identify those values. And then when you take the DISC assessment, it helps you, hone in on your values and your strengths, right? You're able to understand what your strengths are. You're wanting to understand how your motivation style, how your communication preferences, your fears, the things that sometimes hold you back. But if you don't realize that they are your fears, then you can consistently be going around in circles. But once you're able to pinpoint what's holding you back, those fears, and you can find out all those things from your DISC assessment, then you can say, okay, well, this is why I'm resisting to change, because my style is this, and that those are my fears. And so now that I have that information, how can I make informed decisions, right? So you would walk away and even with a professional development plan, build around your strengths and also your values. So I want you to reflect on this question this week. What are three things that you love doing as a leader? What do others consistently affirm you for? What value is most important to you, and how are you living it right now? Those are some coaching questions that I want you to reflect and write down your thoughts and even chat with a close friend or accountability partner. So as you head into your week, remember this: your strengths and your values are not just part of you; they are your power tools. Use them, lead with them, and own them. So I want to thank you for joining me this first episode of our May Strength-Based Leadership series. And if this episode resonates with you, I would like to invite you to share it with another leader or another person in your community or your family. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review wherever you're listening to. Until next time, stay empowered and keep leading boldly. This is Dr. Maurine Kwende, your host.